You think about like Aquaman. All of that is CG water. James Cameron, the director, also did Terminator, and when I did Titanic, he's like, I want to film this movie more than 50% in water. That's awesome. Want to film in water and be like the first guy to do it at this level.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's going to take place in water. I feel like, so Jake Sully, main character, who's now an Avatar, I feel like it's going to be really focusing on, okay, somehow he's permanently an Avatar, but I feel like he's still going to have things that doesn't make him fully an Avatar species. I think with a lot of movies, a great example is a movie from a few years back that was an Oscar winner with Mahershala Ali called Moonlight.
Okay.
And Moonlight was this guy who was African American, but he was homosexual. So it was, I'm in this community, but I'm also an outcast in this community.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's also like a timepiece because it's based on the standards of that time.
Sure.
So in this case, he's a Na'vi, but he's still, maybe he eats with like a human. He's like, hey, where's the forks and knives? So there is none of that.
Right.
You know, maybe they have a certain way about emptying their bodily fluids, and he does it a different way.
He becomes Na'vi at the end of the first one, and now it's the reality.
Exactly. It's
so that's adjusting.
Cool. But also, this is maybe 10 years later, so maybe he's already done that.
Sure.
What I'm thinking is, if this takes place in water, what if he has trouble breathing in water? So, you know, I think it's in a family story, whether it be A Quiet Place or Incredibles, you want to protect your family.
Right.
And maybe it's one of those things where he can't, because they're all in water, but he maybe can't coexist. Yeah. I don't think there's a shot of him in the water in the trailers.
That's a great point.
To up that ante, his son, maybe he thinks that the military folk or humans are really cool, and maybe he's asking too many questions to his dad. Yeah. What's it like being human? What's it like being this? And he's like, what does it concern you? Like,
we're Na'vi.
We're Na'vi. These are your people. And it's one of those things of, well, what if Dad, can you sneak me? I just want to see what it's like just for a day. Can you sneak me into one of the tubes and I can become a human? It's a flipped story, but he's younger, and maybe that leads to bigger implications.
Yeah. I think there's so many routes that they can take, and even after the second movie, we're going to be able to speculate even more what the next 5 will look like. I was just thinking about, I mean, we've been on the planet Pandora now. This is our second movie. Who knows how many movies will be on said planet. Imagine the reversal, so similar to how the sun might become human. Imagine a Na'vi on planet Earth. And what does Earth look like at this time?
I would love to see.
That would be pretty cool.
I would love to see that.
Yeah. And so I was also thinking about like Hotel Transylvania.
Oh, the goat.
The Goat. What a good movie where you have, and I'm again to add to me being bad.
I see where you're going with this. Yeah.
Johnny Maeve.
Mavis.
And they have their whatever. What's the little guy's name?
Jonathan. Wait, no, Jonathan. What you said that?
Jonathan.
Their kid?
Yeah. What
is it? Is it Lucas?
I don't know. You know what I'm talking about? Fraggle Rock hair is red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jonathan.
Mjolnir?
Yeah, the Ant-Man.
So this kid is trying to figure out, because he is monster but also human. Now, I mean, it's a little different Avatar, but it is really cool. And then, I mean, we get to know these characters and really get to know them. This is why the second movie could be really cool.
Yeah.
Because then there might be a multi-generational component to the next movie. So now this kid could maybe become the leader of the Na'vi and
I think
all
it's
of that.
Almost like a Planet of the Apes kind of thing. Like Caesar is like, it's kind of Caesar's rise to becoming the king of the apes, but obviously there's other apes along the way that are already on the social hierarchy of it all. It's fascinating to think about that they do have some roadmap here with the 6 other movies coming. And you asked me if this could be the new Star Wars. And I kind of said right off the bat, no, I don't think so. But the more I think about it, let's look at the 3 Star Wars trilogies. Trilogy number 1 being the prequels. It's Anakin and how he deals with power. The temptations of the power, and then he falls to the dark side. Then in but then it juxtaposes with Obi-Wan, who did not follow that same power and stayed on the right path. Then, original trilogy, you have Luke and Vader. You have Luke, who's tempted by the dark side because Vader says, join me, but he doesn't. And then you have Vader, who uses nothing but the dark side, but turns to the light. Mm-hmm. And then you have the new trilogy with Kylo Ren and Rey. Kylo Ren, who is born to be the heir apparent to Darth Vader's throne. He is that guy.
Yeah.
But at the end, he realizes that's not the way to be and turns good. You have Rey, who's the daughter of Emperor Palpatine. Well, I guess granddaughter of Emperor Palpatine. Emperor freaking Palpatine. And you think that she would be the one to turn bad. And she does struggle with it heavily in Episode 9, but ultimately doesn't. Because she's all the Jedi.
Yeah.
And what I love about Star Wars, there's a religious context to it.
Yeah.
There's an art context as well that is unlike anything I've ever experienced or seen with my own eyes. But the other thing is everybody says it's a story about family, but it is a generational epic about how people deal with power. And I think in this case with Avatar, they're already jumping ahead what looks to be 10 years. This could be a generational epic with how people deal with their kind.
Sure.
So in the first movie, it's a human who wants to become a Na'vi, and now you have, and he's in a wheelchair. Sam Worthington, the actor that plays your main character, Jake Sully, he's in a wheelchair, and he's like, but if I'm an Avatar, I can run again, and his brother was an Avatar, or a Na'vi, so it's all these things. But then in the next movie, you have a Na'vi who wants to become human, and it's like, okay, let's just flip-flop, but there's also an age thing to factor in too. And when humans become Na'vi, they're bringing their human culture to the table. But what happens if it's a Na'vi who wants them to become a human and then bringing their Na'vi culture to the... And I think what this could be, when you start with movie 1, you have, we want your resources, and then the Na'vi are, we don't want you on our land, essentially. Wouldn't that be crazy? By the end of the movies, they both respect each other's culture, because they both had two people that infiltrated each other's culture and embraced each other. I don't know. That sounds to me like it's a heartwarming story.
That does. Actually, again, to add to the speculation of where we think the movie could go, I think that's a beautiful perspective to have with them coming together and however many movies, to put a number on it, that it takes for the Na'vi and the humans to come together. Maybe they have to. Maybe they're forced. Because now they're not infiltrating, but for lack of better terms, they're infiltrating, one's becoming one, and vice versa. And they're seeing each other's cultures, they're seeing each other's perspectives, but maybe something catalyzes that to make them come together, so an external threat to both of their worlds where they have to become one.
Yeah.
And that's where my fire Na'vi comes
in. The red Na'vi coming, bro, on their, I think they call them banshees or their dragons, dude. Ridiculous.
And that's where that comes in, and now here we are tackling that.
Okay, if I were to say, what does Pandora look like? What in your mind do you think of? To me, there's something like ultra iconic about it. What comes to your mind?
It's like floating.
Thank you.
Yeah.
100%. Yep. So they are these giant structures, almost look like a bunch of little moons.
Yes.
And then each one has, I don't know how they get to each one, probably take a banshee up there.
Sure.
From a military perspective, this is bonkers nuts. What if, maybe not this movie, but like imagine like the third movie where tensions are really high and the military's like, look, we don't care about your planet. We are just here to get your resources. So we are going to scare you away. So essentially, rather than taking like tanks through the forest like they did in the first movie, what if they strap like explosives and then they have these giant structures coming down into the water to crush their kingdom that they built underwater? That is terrifying.
That's scary.
But then, guess what? The humans, then they just can mine whatever fell from the sky, get the resources.
Yeah.
Because no other way they're going to get that shit all the way up there. You need a really big ladder, or really
a Na'vi ladder.
A Na'vi ladder, dude. Or they just, take one of their helicopters up there. But still,